Today, I'm joined by a cold email professional from a cold emailing agency called BD. And we're going to be taking turns sharing cold email copy that has worked for us in the past, picking apart what works, why they worked, what we could improve, so on and so forth. So, Brandon, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. My name is Brandon Chillingworth. I'm the founder of HackBD. HackBD is an outsourced lead generation and business development firm. So we help companies that want to have a bigger sales pipeline, achieve that without having to put in a ton of energy themselves. We typically work with businesses that are either in software, and we get a lot of clients from M&A, so private equity firms and M&A advisors that are either looking for strategic acquisition opportunities or looking to find business owners that want to sell that they can take to market.
Yeah, and we are going to be taking turns talking about email copies, like I said. So let me share my screen so you can see it, and we'll start off with me. I have two email copies right here, as you guys can see. One of them got 4.5% reply rate. The other one got 5%. We're going to be starting off with this one. As you can see, it's of course a raw copy, not raw. It's what you would get yourself. It's not spin tags here, but of course I was using spin tags, custom variables. As you can see, hey, first name, all of that good stuff. So simply, it starts off with a subject line that reads, "Please roast my app." It's kind of a bit sketchy, bit different from your usual quick question subject lines. Then a simple greeting, "Hey, first name, I need your help." I put this here just so they could see it in the preview text. And this whole copy has a different approach. Instead of trying to lead with value and give the prospect something, I'm actually doing the opposite, and I'm asking, "I need your help, please roast my app." So just kind of to try and break a pattern. Then I say I created an app or an MVP that makes TikToks, Reels using your company's info, basically doing what UGC creators and social media managers do, just for 1/10 of the cost. This is my claim, my product, right? I'm sharing the product, what you would get if you work with me, if you use this app. And then I say, "I'd love you to try it and have you roast the heck out of it. And also I could improve." This is basically me soft pitching. I'm not asking them to go and purchase my product. I'm just asking them to kind of talk to me, give me feedback, and perhaps use it and then give feedback, just so I could have a conversation rolling, and then later on maybe sell it if they even need it. And the CTA is, I made it as simple as I could. Just reply yay, 2 letters, and I'll share a video I made for Product Hunt. And I say Product Hunt because this email was for leads that I scraped on Product Hunt. So this is super relevant. They would see it. It's relevant for them. They would understand it right away. So it worked pretty well for me. I think there could be a more improvement perhaps with personalization, but it worked well. What do you think? What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, so firstly, it's extremely interesting. I get a lot of cold emails, and I don't get a lot that look like this. Like, you're focusing very heavily on being extremely friendly and personal and formal. And I think it's refreshing to see that from the clutter that most of us get with just a ton of sort of pitch slaps and value propositions. We're going to go into sort of some of the aspects that I like. One of the things that I always try and think of when making copy is how we're putting the companies in the list and how we've decided to reach out to these people in general. So your comment about Product Hunt, and that's where you found them, is extremely important. Oftentimes, the personalization comes before we even put personalizations in the copy. It comes where we're finding leads and how we know that this person could be a good fit. I'm going to assume that you did the same thing for finding companies that are already making TikTok Reels and social media content. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I do. I used, for example, Apollo. You can use the tools they use. You sort by TikTok, and this easily you can find people that are using TikTok. So yeah, I've done that as well in the past.
Yeah, so I like that a lot. So you already have a couple of filters to make sure that the leads that are in this campaign are going to potentially be a good fit. So that's an aspect of it I like. I like the KPI that you're speaking to. So 1/10 of the cost of what UGC creators and social media managers charge. That's one thing that we always think about when we're building campaigns as well, is to speak to KPIs that the prospects are thinking about and are top of mind. Oftentimes with cold email, I'm not sure if you found this, but in my experience, cold email is very good at finding low-hanging fruit. It's people that are already in the headspace to either solve a problem or improve on something that they're doing, and they likely have a metric associated with it. So if you can speak to that metric and that thing that's top of mind, you're more likely to get them to respond and to engage with the content that you're sending.
Oh yeah, whenever I talk about writing cold emails, I always try to tell people to be super specific and share some tangible result. Like here, you would save 9 out of 10. I mean, majority of your money you would spend on social media managers, you would save it, right? So, but sometimes people they share just their product, or they're not specific enough about their result. So yeah, I always try to tell people to be specific and share some good KPIs that are relevant to the prospect. So I'd say that's mine. I mean, maybe I could A/B test different subject lines, I think, as in something that I could improve. I'm just thinking now. Perhaps the wording, different KPI, maybe, sharing the end result of like maybe blowing up on social media or something like that. But yeah, if you don't have any more ideas on how you think I could improve it, we can check your copy.
Yeah, sure. Just one thing quickly that I wanted to ask you about and comment on. So when we're adding statistics or numbers into an email, we'll typically use something that is very specific and tied to a case study. 1/10 might be something that I would change a little bit. Like if you have a case study or result with a client where they saved 87.5% or a very specific number. I've A/B tested a lot and I've seen better results when you do use a specific number. But I'm curious if you guys have experienced the same thing.
Yeah, I think definitely. I haven't tried it for this campaign, but I think that definitely turning this into kind of like, for example, saying that we got this many views using this product for this client or something like that, more specific, I think it would do better. I just need to work on the wording, on how to present it. But yeah, I agree with you that we could improve it and make it way better.
Awesome. Do you want to go to my first piece of copy, or are we good to move? All right. So this first piece of copy, this is something that Hacked BD actually ran and still continues to run for our clients. So we target SaaS companies, and this campaign was targeted towards B2B SaaS founders. You can see I've got the template, and then I have an example. I can show you what this looks like build with an example prospect as well. It's got a lot of personalization. It has a lot of spin tax in it as well. And so my previous point, we did a lot of work to get the right companies in the list before we started reaching out to them. So B2B is not a filter that most lead services have. So we had to run some AI and scrape some websites. We scraped by founders, and then we're looking for very specific types of companies with this campaign as well. I think it makes a lot of sense when you're running cold email to have a clearly defined ICP, so ideal client profile, and focus on them very heavily. What a lot of people get caught up in with cold email is, wow, I can just send 10,000 emails a day and I'll send it to a ton of leads. And if I get some responses, that's great. But this approach we've seen hurt your deliverability a lot. What we want to do is make sure that if we have a list of 100 people, those 100 people could all theoretically be a good client. We don't want to be sort of wasting our bullets on companies that don't make sense. But curious to get your thoughts and let me know what you think about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of going away from spray and pray to focusing on higher quality leads. It's also something I've been talking about in the videos we make on Salesforge. Definitely, because you save a lot of money as well. You don't need to validate leads that would never buy your product. You don't need to reach out to them. Basically, you can reach out to more high quality leads at the same time and get more results, basically, and not waste your time reaching out and perhaps even destroying your domain reputation, your mailbox reputation. Because if you're reaching out to people whom your product is not relevant to, they might just mark you as spam, not reply, and all sorts of stuff. So definitely, I'm on the same page, spray and pray, no good.
For sure. Anyways, I guess I can show like the specific example. And I just did this for the CEO of Salesforge. So Frank. You can see, so what the spin tax has done, obviously, is picked specific pieces of verbiage at different points in the email. But the main personalization that we're using here is this one here. So hypothetical acquisition targets. What we've done in order to come up with this piece of data is we've scraped the website of the company that we're targeting. And then we've ran an AI prompt to analyze that information and come up with 3 hypothetical prospects that the company would like to work with or would potentially be a good fit. This is incredibly powerful for us because what we're trying to do, like we're selling lead generation and cold email services, and our value proposition is that what we do is hyper personalized. It looks like outreach that the high quality salesperson or business development representative would do. So the best way for us to show that we can do that is to demonstrate it to our prospects. And oftentimes when we get responses, people say, hey, I get a million emails like this every single week offering to do lead generation or business development for us, but you absolutely nailed our ICP. Let's have a conversation. It's really the key piece of the email. The one thing that I'm breaking my own rules a little bit here that I didn't include in this that I would like to is some sort of KPI. Exactly what we were talking about with your email. I think there's a constant battle with cold email copywriting where you want to say a whole bunch of things that make your solution or your product enticing, but you also have to try and keep the volume of the email as short as humanly possible, or else it'll just get over and ignored.
Totally agree. Yeah. What I'm thinking is that I really like how softly it approaches, even though it's not directed to me, it's to the CEO, Salesforge Frank. It's super simple. It doesn't scream like, buy my product, come give me your money. It simply asks a question at first, like is Salesforce looking for the following types of prospects, which is super simple. You just read, you're gonna get into the email, right? You're hooked in. Then the description about the hacked BD is like a kind of value proposition, and then you have a CTA. So I really do like it. And even that you mentioned that it's you personalize using AI, that's even more interesting, you know. And you mentioned you somehow use AI to filter out through leads to get only B2B. Can you kind of elaborate on that? How do you use? Of course, you probably don't want to share all your secrets, but just something I thought that's interesting. How do you use AI to kind of filter down the leads?
Yeah, no problem. And I have no problem sharing the tools that we use. I think just really quick on my philosophy around this. So cold email is something that is being used by a lot of companies, and the tools are out there. People are going to figure out how to do it. There's a point in time where the value proposition of working with companies like us is that you can't do what we do because you don't know what the tools are and you don't know the process. But running cold email at a high level with extremely detailed personalization, it takes a lot of time. So the companies that we're working with, they're working with us because they want to free up their time to focus on something else. It's helpful for them to understand how it works. And that's why I don't mind sharing the software. But if you want to get some time back in your day and you just want to work with actual prospects and run a sales process instead of doing prospecting, that's the value proposition. But there's two tools that we use to do this. The main one would be clay.com. I'm sure that Clay is becoming extremely popular as they position themselves as a go-to-market engineering tool. And for simplicity's sake, for people watching this that don't know what it is, it's basically a spreadsheet that you upload leads to, and you can add enrichments that do different things. And one of them that we use is a web scraper. We also use AI filters, and sometimes we'll have to set up a waterfall to collect the information and then analyze it and then output it the right way that we want into custom variables like hypothetical acquisition targets so that it looks good in an email. The second tool is one you mentioned already, actually, Apollo.io. Apollo has for a long time been a really good lead database. But one of the things that they've started doing is trying to take on companies like Clay with their own web scraping and their own artificial intelligence capabilities. And they have a feature called AI power-ups, which you can just run, and they're tremendously open-ended. So you can say, go to this website and understand the information and then spit out 3 bullet points potential customers or prospect types that our company would target. And it'll come up with this information. And then you can take it and you can sequence it and add it to your copy and add it to your lead list. So that's how we're doing that process.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And hearing you not being afraid of competition and just sharing those tools is also very, very nice to hear. I'm thinking about some criticism for the copy. I don't really have any. If I was doing myself, I would wonder and would like to A/B test the CTA. Can we find a time to speak? And it's kind of like a hard CTA. Have you tried testing like a softer CTA just to see if like asking the prospect, is this valuable to you, or not? Because I'm thinking it's kind of not needed, because the first question is kind of validates them right away. The prospect will see it, and like you mentioned, people say, "Oh, I never seen emails so personalized talking about my CP." So I'm wondering if you really need it, and have you tried or not using like softer CTAs?
Yeah, really good question. I have tried using softer CTAs, and I feel like they've worked fairly similarly. Also, the one reason we're using a CTA like this is just the objective of the campaign. This is for our services, which are not tremendously expensive. It's not something where I'll typically want to have 5 or 10 sales calls and have to weave in a ton of different executive stakeholders. The clients that decide to work with us, they tend to do it pretty quickly. We'll have maybe 1 or 2 conversations, and then they'll let me know if they want to move forward or not. So the goal of this campaign is to just get them on the phone so that I can pitch what we do. We can see if it's a fit for them, so I can qualify them, and then we decide if we move forward. But it's a really good question. And we spend a lot of time also thinking about what the CTAs are, how to come up with good questions, or we'll also refer to them as asks. Like, where are we hoping to get it? Every now and then we'll run campaigns for clients where the ask is something a lot softer. Like, can you take a look at a similar case study from a company in your industry? Or, can we come up with some potential prospects for you? Or can we show you how our solution works? Or can I make you a landing page? And I think this is an area where there's still a lot of innovation to be done. There can be much better tools for sort of getting people hooked and getting people interested. And that's a good piece of feedback. I think probably we'll go and test some new CTAs after this, actually.
Yeah, that's nice. And this is the copy that you said you got like a 2.5 positive reply rate, right?
Yeah. So the data that we mainly track to would be interested rate, percentage of contacts that we targeted that are interested and turn into leads. This one is around 2.5%. So if we send 200 emails, we'll get 5 leads from this campaign, which is great for us, especially given that Hacked BD is in a very competitive space. There's a lot of companies do different types of lead generation. And for us, it's hard to cut through the noise. But I think this campaign is just a really good example of how having one just very killer custom personalization that's hyper focused on the prospect can get you really good results. Because this piece of copy, it's really all about this one specific variable, and the more targeted and the more accurate we can be with the types of prospects, the more impressed that the prospect or the person we're targeting is, and the more likely we are to convert.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, 2.5% of positive of interested. That's I'd say that's very good. I don't really have any more criticism or comments. I do like it. Even though I said it's targeted to Frank, I like it. It feels like you're pitching me, and I like it. So it's definitely good.
Awesome. Want to move on to your next piece of copy? Should I start sharing?
Yeah, let me share. Okay, so the second copy I have got me like 5% reply rate with 26 of them being positive. So if we calculate, it would be like what, 1.5%, 2.5% of positive reply rates. So half of your result basically. And this is what was a different approach. I think I was also targeting people from Product Hunt. Yeah, so the subject line reads market research. This is literally what the email is about. And there has been times where people use market research approach to basically talk to the prospect and then just pitch them all of a sudden, right? That's why the first line in my cold email copy is kind of talking this how do I say this? It's kind of...
You're preempting the objection.
Yeah, right away. Because they might be thinking, oh, this is just, he's going to sell her after some questions, yada, yada. I right away tell them, no, I know what you're thinking. That won't happen, right? This is not a silly trick to sell you. And again, I'm using the power of preview text. The text you would see next to the subject line on Gmail, on Outlook, right? This appears as the preview text. Then I greet them, say hello, and I simply, again, lead with the ask. This is what I'm asking, kind of. I'm not offering the prospect anything here, my product or anything. I'm just being selfish, which is usually the opposite of what you should do. But maybe that's why it broke a pattern and it worked so well, because I simply say that I'll be honest, I'm doing market research, I'm trying to validate my SaaS ideas, right? Which is actually this one that I sent emails after. And I'm simply asking the prospect that I love to ask them some questions regarding this niche, which is social media, how you've been doing there, yada, yada. I know it's a long shot, but would you spare 15 minutes of your time for an enthusiastic young entrepreneur? Of course, it was syntaxed, but I used this as well to kind of make this less formal, more informal. And maybe because I sent out this, maybe even I sent it to some similar people or same people again on Product Hunt. Maybe this is why this one performed so well, because I first asked them just for market research questions. I had a couple of conversations. I sent out some questions after the replies, right? And it worked pretty well. I mean, I got a 5% reply rate, 26% of them being positive. And yeah, it worked pretty well. I'm not even sure what I would change. Maybe, I don't know. Do you have any ideas? I don't even know what I would change.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I like about this, and there are a couple of things that I change actually. So the line that you underlined, yeah, you're doing something called preempting objections. I spent years in sales, and this is a technique that I always use, and I always wanted my reps to use when I was coaching account executives or different sort of levels of sales rep. And basically what the strategy is you state the objection before the prospect can state it. And what it does, it weakens it and it softens the blow. And it can be tremendously effective, especially if you have something that people are always saying. So, for example, in this piece of copy, you're assuming that you would get a lot of responses that say, hey, I don't want to buy anything right now. So you're telling them up front, you don't want to sell them something. You just want a piece of feedback. I would probably rearrange it, actually. And the reason why is it's a weird sort of reverse psychology thing, but I feel like if the preview text said, no, this isn't a silly trick to try and sell you something, I feel like I maybe would think it a trick to make something, only because somebody who wasn't going to sell me something wouldn't say that in first place. But what you could do, I don't mind the line at all. Sometimes we'll add something in the postscript. So put a PS. And you could just put it there and be tremendously honest about it. The next thing that I didn't love about it was, I'll be honest. I didn't love it for two reasons. Reason number one, in sales, you don't say I'll be honest because it makes the person think that what you said up to that point was maybe not honest. Also, if we're thinking about just pruning and shortening the email, so making it as concise as possible, it doesn't really add to the value proposition. It's just a few extra words that the client has to read. And for that reason, I would probably cut it out. So you could just launch in and say, I'm doing market research to try and validate my SaaS ideas. What I loved about this email, though, is the ask and what you put at the end. So you did it again where you're preempting objections, where you say, I know it's a long shot. You're acknowledging that, this is a big request and that you're asking a lot, and you're conscious of the time and the effort that you want from the prospect. And then the rest of that sentence is terrific. Would you spare 50 minutes of your time for an enthusiastic young entrepreneur? Anybody that you would be sending this email to at one point was an enthusiastic young entrepreneur. And what you're doing, speaking to the sensibilities and maybe even drumming up a little bit of nostalgia in the prospect's mind. At one point they were exactly this person and they were trying to make something happen, especially if it's a SaaS founder, and eventually they did, but they can remember the struggle and what people go through early on in their career. And I think, that's a really good hook. And I bet you that hook is what got you a lot of that interested rate and a lot of the positive replies, or even just the replies in general. A quarter of your responses were positive, which is a ratio that I don't know about you guys, but we don't really see that much. Most of the responses that we get are usually positive. People generally don't take the time to say no if they're not interested, at least to the campaigns that we run. And because you got a lot more people engaging, my gut tells me that it's because even though they didn't have the time, they can empathize with the situation that you're in, launching a SaaS idea, that you were once like them, and they want to make sure that you're not discouraged and that you keep going. So that's a really good line. I like that a lot.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, your advice, I really like it as well, because I'm even thinking about relaunching this campaign, because I agree with everything you said. Like, this is definitely not really, I mean, it's not valuable for the prospect to read. Like you said, it's just 4 extra words to read. This could be different. When you mention it, I'm definitely on the same side. Yeah. I mean, I got some people really that, and not sales calls, it was just interview type calls, but what it felt like is they really did feel nostalgic or something, because they were like more like mentors. They tried to mentor me and help me and give me more advice, all of that good stuff, answer my questions, and then put on top of it their own, suggestions, answers, whatever. So I think definitely this is what helped me book so many calls from this campaign. So yeah, definitely.
I'm sure that had a big part to do with it. One other thing that I would consider, this isn't like a negative with the copy, but something that I would maybe consider changing is I would try and add in some sort of flattery about them or their background or some research that you did on them. It's interesting. I feel like as sellers and as marketers, we're sometimes cautious or unwilling to say something that is very flattering about the other person or give them compliments, because we feel like they'll see right through it and that it's just sort of a manipulation tactic. But one, everybody loves being told that the work that they're doing is great. Number two, if it's sincere, if you actually did the research and you're being genuine, it's just another way to show that this isn't an email that you just sent willy-nilly. And I think prospects can always tell when somebody has taken the time to find a reason to reach out to them, as opposed to just shotgun and spray and pray and market. Cold email automation, there's a lot of people who will talk on LinkedIn or on other social media about how it's dead and you have to do these different methods. I don't think it's going anywhere for a very long time. Cold email will always work because email is still the most widely used form of business communication. I don't think that's going to change. But what is going to have to change is the amount of attention to detail that we put into every single prospect, especially as AI tools get better. People are going to want to know that they're not talking to robots, and every chance you can, if you can show them that a human was behind this campaign and there's a high level of research and there's some due diligence done ahead of time, and you're reaching out to them for a specific reason and you can articulate that, you're likely to get better as well.
Oh yeah, I agree. I like that. I mean, I also been thinking about this when I was researching like some things. People have said that cold email is dead every year, right? And what I noticed is that it's not dead. It's just that it changes. Like first you had probably added spin tags, then custom variables. Those became the bare minimum. Now you have personalization with AI. And some people just, if they don't evolve, they see results drop. They think cold email is dead, even though it's just you need to get better, you need to keep up, and you need to improve. So those are my thoughts.
100%. It's a marketing channel, and the ROI of any marketing channel will fluctuate as things change. As email service providers get better at spam filtering, the ROI will go down. As companies like Salesforge that get better at creating infrastructure get better, then the ROI goes up. As we all start using AI SDRs, which is not something that we do, but as companies start using AI SDRs and the quality of personalization goes down, the ROI will go down. As companies figure out how to use AI to enhance what people are doing, the ROI will go up. And it's like anything. If you have a good value proposition, you have prospects that have a burning problem or something that they're looking to improve on, your message will be able to cut through the noise if you can craft it in a way that shows them that they'll get value and you can get them interested. So I don't think it's going anywhere for a long time. It's just people that are doing cold email, if they're not getting results, need to take a look at sort of every aspect of their campaign and make sure that they're following best practices. And if they are, then they'll get results.
100%. I agree. So let's go to your last copy.
For sure. So this is an M&A campaign. It's similar to something that we ran for a private equity client of ours. So just a little bit of background. This is a fund, and what they want to do is acquire a very specific type of business to add to their portfolio. These campaigns are tremendously effective. mainly because it's an extremely strong value proposition. This campaign got a 13% interested rate, meaning that out of 100 people that we targeted, we got 13. You can imagine that a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are eager to sell their businesses if there's a strategic buyer. And we'll go into what we have in this email. So the hook is very straightforward. Our client is a private equity firm that invests in or acquires, and you can see we got a custom variable here, specific industry. We've all used sales intelligence tools that have an industry filter. And if we've used them enough, we know that the industry filter is good to make an initial list, but it's not really specific about the company. We will never use a just generic industry filter. We'll always do the same thing that we did in the previous campaign. So we'll research the business, we'll scrape the website, and then we'll come up with the very specific industry. So let's say that this one was targeting dental practice management software. We would say dental practice management software instead of software, because software is not really what they do. It doesn't show any level of understanding about the business or any amount of personalization. Cool. So that's the first part. The second part, what we're trying to do with this sentence is build credibility. We've raised this much capital. We're trying to acquire business types, and then business type is a custom variable as well. So in this one, it might be vertical market software businesses or niche recurring revenue SaaS companies, something like that, that are either set up or well positioned for growth. Then we have part of the value proposition around why they should have an acquisition discussion with us as opposed to a different strategic acquirer. So today we've completed X number of deals. We've never changed LOI terms with an acquisition. So in M&A, for anybody listening who's not familiar, the first thing that you sign when you're going to sell your business is a letter of intent or an LOI. And it's what says the acquisition value. So how much the acquirer is going to pay, and also broad strokes outlines of a deal. Sometimes LOIs can be changed from the time they're signed to the final agreement. The value of the company can change or different sort of factors. The fact that these guys had never changed an LOI from when it was signed to acquisition, it shows that they're a good, reputable party to work with. So that's why we included that. And then the ask is extremely formal, and we're trying to have a conversation. We believe you could be a good fit for our portfolio. Like to have a conversation if you're interested. Would you be open to having an initial discussion? Overall, the tone of this is incredibly professional. It's not sort of informal. And the reason why is that's just how this industry operates. So I think it's important to match the tone or the writing style of the email with the industry that you're targeting, with the client that you're working. For something like a young entrepreneur asking for feedback on their application, I think the tone of voice that you used is terrific. It's informal. You're looking to build a relationship and develop a friendship, partnership, what have you. For this one, we are a big company with lots of capital. We want to acquire you, and we want to make this appear legitimate. So we're not using any sort of crazy punctuation or anything like that. But curious to get your take. What do you think?
I've been looking at it. What I really like is the amount of custom variables you use. I'm even going to count it. Like we have 2 at the start, company. In the subject line, we have first name, of course. And we have 3 in the first paragraph. We have 1, 2, 3 in the second one. And you're using so many custom variables, which I believe not only helps the lead to read and kind of personalizes the email further, but it should also help on the deliverability standpoint, because each email you send is a little bit different. So I do really like it, because that's actually something I found myself I use less and less custom variable. But now this gets me. I want to use more and play around and use custom ones, because whenever you use Apollo and extract data, you get a lot of data you can use. And what I see is you're using that to your advantage, which you should be doing. So that's something I really like the amount of custom variables. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, custom variables are, in my opinion, the best way to use AI generated copy. There are AI copy creators, I think, with every single sequencing tool that exists on the market these days. And you can very quickly spin up a piece of copy and you can sequence it and send it out. But people are like our prospects are smart, A, and B, I think, at least to date, artificial intelligence has a very specific writing style. And it's possible for your prospect to read it and understand that this wasn't something that you wrote. And I think it's important that in any campaign, the tone of voice of the person that's reaching out, it comes through. Your emails, they sound like you. If somebody communicates with you, the email that you automated versus an email that you wrote manually to them, they'll look, they'll feel, they'll sound the same. If you were to just use an AI copy generator, it would. So how can you use AI to personalize and to do research and also make it sound like you? Well, the best way is to give the AI that you're using a very confined space to operate in. There's a better example with the first one. So this is a really custom variable. It's as long as any that we'll use for anything. But we've given it very specific instructions. You make 3 bullet points. You don't add a period at the end. You have to structure the sentence in this exact way. Because AI, at least today, it's very, very smart, but kind of dumb technology. It's like a human being that is a little bit socially awkward and is not aware of their perceived. So if you want to make as effective use of it as you possibly can, write the email yourself. Make sure it sounds like you. Add spin tags that are words that you would use that make sure that the content flows. Don't just put it in there just to put it in there because you heard you should change up the copy. And then decide where personalizations fit, make custom variables about them, give the AI a very confined space to operate in. So it comes up with a little tidbit here and there that adds to the personalization and effectiveness of the copy. And then one thing I didn't mention before is review everything that the AI is doing. Do not let the AI say something without a human being having read it. And that's something that we do for all of our AI enriched campaigns. And the reason why is it will be absolutely incredible 95% of the time, and 5% of the time, it will make you look bad. I think email or cold email is also sometimes associated with like lack of effort and people will think that they're going to harm their brand by reaching out to a bunch of people with low quality outreach, and they are not wrong. They will harm their brand if they reach out to people with low quality outreach. But conversely, if they make the outreach high quality and you're just using artificial intelligence to supplement what humans are doing and taking a very authentic approach to it, I think what you're doing will be really effective.
Yeah. So I really like your approach because you're avoiding the mistake that a lot of people do. They completely try to rely on AI. They're like, write me an email and that's it, the whole copy. I really like that you're using it not to rely on it, but as a tool to automate a specific process, like writing those bullet points, researching and writing the bullet points. So the whole email is still like you just have some information about the prospect with the help of AI and automations, but it's not like just AI fully written. And yeah, I mean, I like that. You're not making a mistake of relying, because like you said, yes, AI is great, but sometimes it makes mistakes, and if you just leave it be and run these automations just with AI, it will send out some poor emails. So yeah, that's good. I don't think I have anything like to criticize here, because yeah, I just don't, nothing comes to mind. Maybe I would do more spin tags on more words, but I don't really think, I mean, if the deliverability is good, you have a lot of custom variables. If the deliverability is good, it's not even necessary to touch it and spin tags even more.
I think deliverability is a really interesting topic as well, because there's obviously a lot of factors that go into it, but main factor that affects deliverability is, do you have a good engagement rate? And this is the reason why your personal email, my personal email, anybody who's watching this, our personal emails that we are not using for cold email, they have near perfect deliverability. It's because people respond to all of our messages and they're all sort of getting very good engagement. And I think that will always be the guiding light for email service providers. And it also ties into why mail warming is so important. If you have a good engagement rate, your emails are going to be continuously put in the inbox. So for a campaign like this, you're absolutely right. I would probably like to add in more spin tags here and make it a little bit more unique for every single prospect. But we're able to be, the word lazy is correct, but we're able to put a little bit less energy into our spin tags because we're getting such a high engagement rate. interested rate was 13% or a little bit above. I think the reply rate was something around 20%. So 1 in 5 people that we reached out to were interested in having the conversation. The other thing to take from this is just the overarching value proposition is so strong. If you run a SaaS company or you sell consumer products or you're an agency, it'll be very hard to have a value proposition that's as strong as I have a lot of money and I want to buy your company. But it shows that if you do have an offer that people can't say no to, or a value proposition that's so good, people out there will respond. A lot of prospects ignore a lot of emails, and we all want to improve our businesses and we all want to solve problems and we all want to grow and make our life easier. So spend a lot of time on crafting the value proposition and crafting the offer and thinking about what your positioning is. I think that's key first and foremost. We're an agency, so we work with a lot of companies and they'll always ask us before we get started, what the interested rate going to be and how many leads are we going to get? What are the results going to look like? And the reality is we can make a really good message, but cold email it's a method. It's a way that you can do marketing. The best thing that you can do if you want to get more leads in cold email is have a better value proposition and build a stronger product. You will always have to have a really good value prop and have deep understanding of your customers' problems if you want to get good results in any sort of sales or business development channel.
Yeah. I think that biggest takeaway I want to let the viewers know is that you shouldn't go just and copy the templates themselves, the email copy you see, but rather use the tips and approaches Brandon has shared, like spending more time on the value prop, how to actually use AI to write better emails. Do not just rely fully on AI. Let it write specific parts and then review it. All of that good stuff. This is what I want to tell to the viewers. Just learn from the approach instead of just copying. Now, Brandon, I really want to thank you. Would you mention where people can find you and your agency? Just so for anyone interested?
Yeah, for sure. hackedbd.com. HACKEDBD.com. Submit requests in our contact form if you want to reach out. You can get in touch with me and happy to answer any questions. Take a look, see if we can help you if you're running cold email and you want to either get better results, or if you've been thinking about cold email or thinking about new marketing channels, I want to explore if this could be a good fit for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon, so much. It was great talking to you. I got some great insights myself from you, learn a few things. I might just go change the copy and try again.
Yeah, definitely, Simon. It was great speaking with you. Really appreciate you taking the time, and thanks to everybody for watching. Appreciate it.
Likewise. And for anyone watching, if you want to see more videos, I suggest watching up here and subscribe to Salesforge YouTube channel, and have a good one and peace.